Now, this means that I have to do what you tell me, that I have to be honest with you. Specifically, we use the acronym OLD CAR. Welcome to my classroom. I'm Chris.Collette, the real estate professor. And today I want to get a little bit technical with some of the real estate terms that we often use on the real estate side of things that you may not have heard of. And I want you to understand sort of what it is, because I think it's one of those basic sort of real estate 101 things that is really important for your protection, but that you might not realize is happening. So I want to walk you through it. So let's talk today about agency. The idea that one person represents another, and in this case, has very specific legal requirements. As a real estate agent, also a realtor, two separate things, by the way. Make sure that you're always working with a realtor, not just a licensed agent. But as a realtor and a licensed agent, I have agency. I have the ability to speak or act or represent somebody else in a transaction. Now, this means that I have to do what you tell me, that I have to be honest with you. Specifically, we use the acronym OLD CAR. OLD CAR is all the things that I'm supposed to do as a fiduciary for you. Follow-up question is, what's a fiduciary? So like a lawyer or an accountant, I am responsible for making sure that your financial situation is protected. Now, it doesn't mean that I manage your money, for example. You're not giving me your money and I'm buying the house for you. It just means that when I give advice, I have to follow some pretty strict legal financial requirements. So, for example, obedience. I am required, if I am an agent representing you, I am required to do what you tell me, assuming it's legal, right? But if you ask me to write an offer on a certain property, I have to do it, even if that offer is not going to get accepted. And I might tell you that, hey, I heard that this offer is probably $20,000, $30,000 lower than their next best offer. And you say, write it anyway. I have to say, okay, I will do that for you because I owe you obedience. The next one is loyalty. I owe you specifically obedience, not anybody else. I am loyal to you. Somebody else says, don't send me an offer that's $20,000 below. But you say to me, I want to submit it. I don't listen to them. I listen to you. I have to submit it anyway, even if they don't even want to see it. Loyalty to you is critical because you're the most important person in a transaction. D is for disclosure. I have to disclose all material facts that I know about a property, a transaction, the process. I have to answer your questions, and not just answer them, but speak up about things if I know them. So for example, if I learn that a property has tested positive for lead paint at some point in the past, I can't just sit back and let you find that out on your own. I have to tell you that up front. There are a lot of things that I have to make sure you understand up front. It's the basics, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, but it's also some other things like lead paint, like radon if I find out about it, like if I think that there might be asbestos insulation in the basement. I have to tell you that there might be and that you should get it tested by a licensed asbestos inspector. So that's disclosures. The next one is confidentiality, the C. Anything that you tell me remains confidential, and it remains confidential forever. So if you tell me that you are buying this house because you and your partner are getting married, but maybe the family doesn't really know about it, you want to keep it a secret. Maybe you're getting divorced, the family doesn't know about it, you want to keep it a secret. Whatever it is, I owe you confidentiality, and that extends beyond the end of the transaction. It includes your finances. You'll share with me, for example, your pre-approval. If you're buying cash, you might share with me a bank account that shows how much money you have in the bank to buy this house. I can't tell anybody what I see, and I will keep that confidential forever. Every agent should. The next one is accounting, the A, accounting. It's not just accounting in terms of money, but it's accounting in terms of documentation as well. I have to make sure that according to the standards, the legal requirements in the state of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, that my team keeps your documents, the offer paperwork, the purchase and sale, everything part of the transaction, and also the finances accountable. So if you give me a deposit check, I have to turn that over to whoever is holding escrow within a reasonable amount of time, as determined often by the contract. So it's usually if you sign the offer, sign the P&S, at the time of signing, you're supposed to give a deposit. You give me that deposit, I'll make sure it gets delivered. The last one, the R, is reasonable care. Reasonable care is the idea that if you tell me that you want a 3-bedroom home that has an extra space for an office, and then I walk around showing you nothing but 2-bedroom houses or 3-bedroom houses where one of the bedrooms is barely a bedroom and there's no extra space, I haven't done what you've asked me to do and cared for you in particular. I haven't looked out for your specific needs. If you tell me that you want to keep a monthly payment below a certain amount and I keep showing you houses that are too expensive, I have not exercised reasonable care on your behalf. These are the things that I'm supposed to do to make sure that I'm protecting not just documents and finances, but also your lifestyle. I have to make sure that I'm doing what it is that you specifically are looking for that'll make your life better. So these are all the things that are required of me as a licensed agent and a fiduciary. And as an agent, I could represent you on a couple of different types of transactions. I could be an agent for you as a buyer. I could be an agent for you as a seller. And in those instances, they are different. I'm looking out for your best interests in that specific type of transaction. There's a third one. It's called facilitator. This is somebody who doesn't represent you as a fiduciary, as looking out for your best interests, as taking care of you in particular. It's really just somebody who facilitates the transaction. This often happens in rentals when the landlord and the tenant just hire a real estate agent to do the paperwork. So if I'm that agent, I'm not saying, hey, you should offer this much, or hey, you should charge this much. Instead, what I'm saying is, okay, what do you want to charge? What do you want to pay? You guys come to an agreement? Great, I'll put that on paper, but you guys do the negotiating. There's the idea of dual agency and designated agency. So if I am your buyer's agent, I will be a designated agent. That means that if there's anybody within my brokerage or team that has a listing that you're interested in purchasing, we won't both have all of your information. I would be designated for you in particular, and the rest of the brokerage, the other 1,000 agents that might be at the Compass Boston office, for example, they don't get access to your private information. They are not your designated agent, and they cannot speak on your behalf. Dual agency, if I happen to have a listing that you're interested in, and we're working together to buy a house, I wouldn't represent you on both sides of that transaction. It is legal, but we don't practice it. We don't believe it's ethical. We don't think that there's any real way in the real world for me to both get you the lowest price and the highest price for my seller in the same transaction with me negotiating against myself. So we wouldn't do that as dual agency, but it does happen sometimes. So if you have any questions about agency, about what an agent does for you, why more than 95% of buyers last year worked with an agent and had them represented, which, by the way, doesn't cost you anything out of pocket as part of the transaction. If you have any questions about these things, reach out to my team. Thinking about buying, selling, or investing in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, or Rhode Island, reach out to my team. I'm Chris.Collette, the real estate professor, and I'll see you all next week.